I'm on my second day tour from Saigon. First on the itinerary was a brief stop at a handicrafts workshop where many of the workers are handicapped. This workshop employs many who were children born to victims of Agent Orange poisoning during the Vietnam War. We had a guide show us the lacquer paintings and how they are made here by hand. First, the design is etched onto a wooden board. Then they stick cut-up pieces of eggshells or mother-of-pearl shells over the design. They draw and make various designs here. Rather large eggshells are used. And these are the very large pearl shells they use to cut up into various shapes and designs. The cut-up pieces are painted over in various colors based on the design of the painting. The paintings are then washed and look like this upon completion. Once done with the workshop tour, we hit the highway again. A lot of Vietnam looked similar to the sights back in India, including seeing trash along the highways. There was a lot of traffic going into Ho Chi Minh City, but we were headed south to the city of Tay Ninh. That's where our next stop, the main temple of Khao Dai Sim, is located. I had never heard of Khao Dai Sim before, but apparently it is the third most followed religion in Vietnam. The mountain you see in the distance is called the Black Virgin due to an old folklore about a local deity. It's now a tourist attraction with cable car rides and a temple complex at the top. We arrived at the Khao Dai temple in Tay Ninh in time to witness the noon prayer session. Khao Dai devotees wear white áo dai, the traditional Vietnamese gown. The property is quite large with lots of trees on the other side. This is the main temple for Khao Dai Sim in Vietnam. Khao Dai Sim blends Western and Eastern religions into a weird mix of faiths and beliefs. Like most Eastern temples, we have to leave our footwear outside before entering. These prayer sessions are held 4 times a day, 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 6 p.m. and at midnight. I've written in detail about Khao Dai Sim on my blog, so please check the links in the description below for those posts. We didn't stay for the entire duration of the prayer session as we had to leave for lunch. After lunch, we were driven to the Cu Chi tunnels, but first they dropped us off at a shooting range where we could pay to fire some rounds. Yeah, it was that loud. The Cu Chi tunnels were built by Vietnamese forces beginning in the 1940s but later expanded during the Vietnam War to hide from American soldiers. The tunnels are now maintained by the Vietnamese military, and on display are relics of equipment left behind by US forces during the war. Our guide took us to a hall where we were first given a presentation on the Cu Chi tunnels.
And this one is a dining bunker linked with the smokers hole
The model showed how deep and interconnected the tunnels got over time and how they were used. The tunnels had rooms for all kinds of use: meetings, storage, sleeping, and even kitchens. The Cu Chi tunnels were basically an underground camp for Vietnamese forces to use as a hideout from US soldiers patrolling the jungles above. The tunnels also protected Vietnamese forces and their loved ones from air raids by the US Air Force. And even though the tunnels of Cu Chi grew to be over 120 kilometers long, tours here only open a few of them to the public. Out in the jungle, we were shown some traps Vietnamese forces used to injure their enemy. At the bottom of this pit are sharp spikes. We now had a chance to see one of the tunnels. Going to be tough to record from inside such narrow tunnels. This was a tunnel that housed a well from where Vietnamese soldiers got their groundwater from. He then had to go back out another way. This was another tunnel. I know it's really dark, but what you're looking at is a cupboard with a typewriter and other stationery. This bunker had bats up on the ceiling. There was barely any light source underneath, so apologies for the quality of the visuals. This room housed a meeting table and a bed. Coming back out into the fresh air was such a relief. Now imagine what it must have been like for people living here for years. And just when you thought it couldn't get smaller, a staff member demonstrated how Vietnamese soldiers would get into the tunnels through these narrow openings.
Okay, bye bye. Bye bye. Close the entrance. See you tomorrow. See you. Close.
And then it was my turn. Unfortunately, it was pitch dark inside. Mind you, going through these tunnels isn't for everyone, especially the elderly. It's hot and at times suffocating. But I still crawled through and came out the other side. Despite how uncomfortable it may be, I still rate this highly as a unique experience and a must-do tour when in South Vietnam. But yeah, I had enough of these tunnels by now. There are other exhibits on display at Cu Chi tunnels, but you can see the photos of all that on my blog. Overall, this was a great day tour and highly recommend it. It was a long drive back to Ho Chi Minh City, but a day well spent.